With or without music, we don't know, but welcome to it. It's the Hodlnots Weekly Warm-Up here on the 11th of August, and I'm John.
I'm Vicky.
Welcome to the news at 9 a.m. UTC, where it's currently 6 o'clock in the morning in Brazil, I think. All right, let's get into some of the crypto headlines over the last couple of days. Some fairly big news coming from the White House. Bo Hines, director of the White House Crypto Council, has stepped down. The executive director of United States of America's President Donald Trump's White House Crypto Council has announced that is stepping down. This is as of Saturday. He was appointed by the president to lead the advisory group in December of 2024, and he's stepping down to rejoin the private sector. And he thanked the crypto community for its unwavering support. Although a successor has not yet been named, independent crypto reporter Eleanor Terrett said that Hines' deputy director Patrick Witt will most likely be the one appointed to the position.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that isn't fake news, as something we reported last week was. And we actually did say we would look into it. And we did find out that when we reported last week that China banned all forms of crypto, they actually did not ban all forms of crypto. Kind of. So last week, millions of cryptocurrency investors, enthusiasts, and watchers were alerted to some breaking news that China had officially banned crypto trading, mining, and all related services on the mainland. Now, they did ban mining. They did announce that crypto was not recognized as a legal tender, and they did make it illegal for their citizens to issue or exchange tokens, but they can still hold on to them. But however, none of that was announced last week. It was actually old news. So what appears to have taken place is that some investors wanted to manipulate the market, shock horror, and to cause the value of Bitcoin and other crypto to fall so they could scoop it up at a lower price. So it just goes to show you that you cannot believe everything you read or hear on the internet.
Absolutely. Now, this is an interesting opinion piece as well, similar to those what Vicky was just saying now as well. We all know about the crypto 4-year cycle. Well, many believers are growing louder in their opinions that that 4-year crypto cycle is now dead. So experts are debating whether Bitcoin's predictable 4-year cycles are at an end as institutions are getting into crypto in a very big way. Crypto markets have historically fallen into the 4-year bull and bear cycles that seem to revolve around the Bitcoin halving, right? However, this pattern could be unraveling, according to industry analysts and experts. To quote an author and investor, Jason Williams, from a post that he put out on Saturday on X, top 100 Bitcoin treasury companies hold almost 1 million Bitcoin, and that's a lot. We know a lot about the strategies. We know a lot about the BlackRocks, the Semler Scientifics, the Metaplanets. So we may be unpacking this topic a little more on this week's Hodlnots Happy Hour Hangout. More details to come.
Yeah, it's really interesting that that 4-year cycle has possibly been broken because of all the big institutional investors. And another institutional investor, we're not going to be talking about Bitcoin right now, we're going to be talking about Solana. So, four public companies are sitting on $591 million worth of Solana at the moment. And these companies are Upexi, DeFi Developments Corp, Solana or Sol Strategies, and Torrent Capital. And they are now amongst the largest institutional investors of Solana. Now, these entities collectively control more than 3.5 million Solana tokens, and it's worth over $591 million. So we've talked about Bitcoin or companies holding Bitcoin. We've talked about companies holding Ethereum, and now we're talking about companies holding Solana. So the trend is continuing, and that's why what John just said is really interesting about that 4-year cycle might change a little bit.
Absolutely. We're
Mm,
seeing a lot of growth around the Solana ecosystem. If you
yeah.
see how its adoption is growing over the last
Mm.
couple of years, I've got a feeling that it may well come very close to Ethereum's market cap at some point, if not overtake it. But let's see. We'll follow up on that in a couple of months. Who knows how things are going to change? But let's head on over back to Bitcoin. Now, we've spoken about Bitcoin previously on the Hodlnots Happy Hour Hangout, in terms of a lot of people turning to it as a safe haven. You know, gold has always been kind of the gold standard around safe haven assets. But Bitcoin is the perfect asset for the next 1,000 years, according to Willy Woo. Now, some of you might have heard of Willy Woo. He's one of the OGs in the around Bitcoin, and especially around his analysis. So he says the thing is, you don't get to change the world unless this monetary asset, in my opinion, the perfect asset for the next 1,000 years, does not get to do its job unless capital flows in and gets big enough to rival the US dollar. He said recently at the Baltic Honey Badger Conference in Latvia on Sunday. So currently, Bitcoin's market cap is sitting in and around $2.42 trillion, which is less than 11% of gold's $23 trillion, while the US dollar money supply sits at 21.9 trillion. So, yes, Bitcoin's got a long way to go, but we do believe, as we've been talking about on these sessions and other previous sessions as well, is that global adoption around crypto, specifically the OG or the godfather of crypto, Bitcoin, and we start to see all of these large institutions snapping up Bitcoin. We do believe that obviously Bitcoin's market cap will grow as supply and demand does grow. And we will be covering this as well in one of the other further topics down below. But is Bitcoin the perfect asset? We strongly believe so, but more on that much later.
Yeah, the global adoption is interesting for a lot of the currencies. And another currency that we've been talking a little about on these calls is Ripple, so XRP. And just in, finally, after almost 5 years, the US regulator ends lawsuit against the crypto company Ripple, although they will have to pay $125 million fee. So the US Securities and Exchange Commission has ended its case accusing Ripple Labs of selling unregistered securities, but they left a $125 million fine intact. But that ends one of the cryptocurrency industry's highest profile lawsuits ever. So Ripple and the SEC agreed on last Thursday to dismiss their appeals of the fine imposed by the US District Judge in Manhattan and in her jurisdiction against the sale of Ripple XRP token to institutional investors. So great news for Ripple. Ripple has actually been running a little bit, possibly because of that news. So after 5 years, tons of money, it's finally over, and now they can do what they want to do and what they were designed to do. So good news, I think, for Ripple.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of
Mm.
growth around a lot of the US-backed tokens and coins and these projects going on. We're looking forward to the growth of Ripple among some of the others as well. And this is all to do with the fact that President Trump has kind of made it his mission to make the US the capital of crypto and crypto innovation and regulation as well. And one other thing that President Trump has done is that he's opened up the doors for crypto in retirement 401k accounts in the US. He signed an executive order last week, Thursday, that will let Americans invest their 401k retirement savings in cryptocurrency, private equity, and real estate, marking a major shift in retirement investment options. It's fairly bullish. The order directed the SEC, the Labor Department, and the Treasury to update their rules to give investors access to these alternative assets. These buys have propelled many of these, whether it be Master Strategy and a bunch of others, to actually start growing as the United States retirement funds become open to these holders and they start investing into great performing crypto assets. So looking very exciting ahead of that. And I think the next story, Vicky, kind of ties in a little around that as well.
Yeah, it does. Actually, two things. So we have been interestingly talking to some self-managed super funds here in Australia about the same thing. So the 401k and the self-retirement super funds here are the same. They're for your future, basically. And in Australia, crypto it has just been allowed to be purchased inside those as well. So it's really interesting how it's parallel, although Australia was first, so that's interesting. But what the other story was is cannot go 2 weeks without talking about Michael Saylor and his strategy that they've started basically they started buying Bitcoin 5 years ago, and some saying that their stock is now up by 2,600% because they did that. So strategy is marking 5 years since it first bought Bitcoin, and like I said, it helped to propel their stock nearly 2,600% since 2020 and actually revived it from a 20-year low. So the company has since spent a total of $46 billion buying 628,000-ish Bitcoin, and they are the largest Bitcoin holdings among any of the public or private companies, but they have inspired other companies to copy their Bitcoin buys. So that's what John was talking about with the 4 year cycle, because all of these big companies are now buying Bitcoin. So what is that going to do to the cycle? So those buys by strategy or micro strategy as it was and now is strategy. Like I said, their shares have gone in the last 5 years 2,595%, and they closed their actual stock at over $395. And that was compared with under $15 that it traded when they first started buying. So their Bitcoin holdings has actually propelled their company. So I think that's why a lot of other companies are going to try to emulate that as well.
Absolutely. It's always a case of
Mm,
shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? So, we've spoken about before. I knew about Bitcoin back in 2014,
mm,
2015, call it 10, 11 years ago. And it was a lot less, right? So I've told my friends and family, I've actually got a friend in the States who's buying $5 of Bitcoin a day. And if you want to apply the same principle, whether it be you're not going to be a whale like Strategy and Michael Saylor, but it's up to you. We know the best time to get into crypto is yesterday. Best alternative today. More on just a little bit of application around Bitcoin. And this is an interesting little piece. It's the last little real topic in the crypto headlines is the top 5 cities in the world where you can pay your rent entirely in Bitcoin. So paying rent in Bitcoin is easy. We know it's secure and it is gaining popularity amongst many tenants and landlords around the world. Many cities globally now have the tech infrastructure to facilitate Bitcoin payments. So whether it be through blockchain powered rental platforms and the smart contracts as well that simplify the lease management, they also help reduce disputes and also enable that secure near instant settlements. We know about these payment solutions. So landlords and tenants can also choose to be paying direct or indirectly with Bitcoin payments, with stable coins as well, and using intermediaries or even escrow services, which help mitigate that volatility and compliance risks. So we might unpack this as well in this week's 4H, talking a little bit more about that. We've spoken about how you could potentially use your crypto to help secure loans and mortgages for buying real estate. And we're looking at it now in this week as well, how it can be used in the rental sector. Now, for those top 5 cities, number one, and we'll get more detail about these cities specifically on the 4H. Miami, over in Florida in the US, is the top number one, followed by Lisbon, Portugal, Berlin in Germany, Toronto in Canada, and Paris in France. So more and more cities around the world. I'm hoping Cape Town one day becomes one of the big ones as well, where you can actually use Bitcoin to pay rent, etc. And then in the very last little headline, it's more of a thought we want you to think about, and we're going to be definitely unpacking this on the 4H this week, and that is what happens if Bitcoin reaches $1 million. Okay. A lot to process, but we're going to be covering more on that in the 4H this week. So look out for the announcement and the registration details for that in a little while. All right, cool. Let's get into the next section. We're going to be moving on from the crypto news. And no, actually, we've got something new. So we thought we'd start off with this. So happy birthday to Vicky from all of us. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Hickey. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, Hickey.
All right, then he gets more upbeat. But happy birthday to Vicky, and well done. It's about another year. We did speak about Hulk Hogan as well last week. Unfortunately, passed away. Would have been his birthday today. But the good news, Vicky, is that you also shared with some other greats as well. And we're talking about the likes of Viola Davis, the actress, and another Aussie, Chris Hemsworth, also celebrates their birthday today. All right. Moving on to the regular programming, let's talk about that little thing over there. Over to you.
There. So, and the good thing is I'm not dead like Hulk Hogan is either. So that's
Yeah, that's a
another
bonus.
positive today. That's a bonus. Thank you, everyone. And I see some messages coming in. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. That was totally unexpected. Um, and talking about fear, I suppose. Fear, the fear and greed index, moving right along, the fear and greed index has risen to about 70 from last week, 64. So the market's been running, people are getting a bit more greedy, but still staying sensible. So this could be because of the positive news coming out of the US that John just said. So it appears traders are still positive, but they're not losing their minds. So really good for the market. The market has been hot, running hot actually for the last couple of weeks. It did have a little bit of a downturn last week, but it's been running really over the weekend too. So all good news for us, especially us scalpers, because we can take advantage of pretty much all that. So thank you, market.
Yeah, every single day.
Thank you.
Every single day.
I've just lost for words. Keep going.
Every single day is a scalping day. It doesn't matter the market indeed. But let's have a quick look at what is bringing up the market and maybe what's pulling down the market. So let's get into this section over here. Oh yeah. All right. So things are looking fairly good. I would say bullish, but actually looks more like a rhino or a rhinoceros. But yeah, so things are looking pretty good. Bitcoin is back up at it. It did break 122,000 something, but we know it is dealing with a little bit of a resistance zone up ahead. But for those of you who have the Hodlnots indicator and know how to use it, we're looking at some pretty good things. Yeah, pretty awesome. Turn that off and yeah. We're way above the 200. We're in a really bullish golden area, and we've had this buy tag and the lower pivot that came in, and things are looking pretty good here. So while it is a fairly bullish Monday, fairly positive. We did talk about this last week and was very happy to report that Bitcoin dominance did break 60%. That psychological value at the moment is dealing with a little bit of a bounce back, but this is a pretty good sign. And again, for those of you who know, we may see a little bit of an issue getting back up there, and we're hoping whether it be tomorrow or the day after, it starts to come down. Now, what does that mean? If Bitcoin dominance starts coming down, more money is flowing into the alts than Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin might be going up. And we're going to start to see more of these. Oh, some coins have been popping. Lovely. Great scalp trading, hodl fires abound. But yeah, we're waiting for this Bitcoin dominance to drop down below 59.74. That'll disappear. And things are looking fairly up, I would say, Vicky. So yeah, I think let's jump into the next section of this regular programming. You're going to tell us what's happening in the lodge this week.
I am going to tell you, and most of you on the call have heard it all before. Those of you who have not been on the call before, welcome. And what is our lodge, first of all? So our lodge is our training room, our permanent training room for all our certified Hodlnots. So those people who have undertaken and graduated the Hodlnot foundational course in any of its forms get to go in our lodge. And in our lodge, we have extra training. So you can ask questions, but you also can jump on calls. Some are scheduled, some are not. And there's another big week, as it always is. And the week starts off, as it always does, with our Wendy training call tomorrow at 8 a.m. UTC. So that is Tuesday, not Thursday. I'm wishing my life away already. So Tuesday at 8 a.m. UTC. And then the week continues on Tuesday with the first of our weekly calls. For those currently enrolled in the Hodlnots Self-Paced Foundational course, we have 2 a week. One is on Tuesday, 12 p.m. UTC. And hasn't the month flown by? I can't believe that the happy hour hangout is already upon us again this Wednesday. So this Wednesday, the happy hour hangout will be at 11 a.m. UTC. And watch out for a lively discussion on some of the news headlines from these calls, as John was hinting to. So it's always, we're getting a bit more into that now because it's really important for everyone to know not just about scalping, not just about Hodlnots, but what's happening in the greater crypto world, because that does affect us. So watch out for that. And then this week as well, the Hodlfire call will be at 9 p.m. UTC this Wednesday. So the opposite to last week's 12 p.m. And the week continues on Wednesday with the first of our Hodl dot calls. So our Hodl dot calls are for those of us in the lodge who are doing the self-paced 3M challenge, which is where you take $40 and turn it into for goodness sakes, $2,500. And that is well on our way. We have quite a few people doing that. And we do have help calls. We don't leave you out there blowing in the wind yourself. So that is the first of the calls there. And then on the busy week continues with another Hodl dot call on Thursday at 8 a.m. UTC. And also on Thursday is the second of our self-paced calls at 12 p.m. UTC. Now, all of those are on the schedule in the Certified Academy. So if I've gone too quickly, jump in the Certified Academy, look at the schedule, and you'll see all those calls. Not the Hodlfire call, that will be in the Bitcoin Trend and Forecast back office. And then in between those, this is our exciting and also quite sad third week of our live Hodlnots course. But it's exciting because we're going to have new Hodlnots joining us. So anyone that's in the lodge, please give our new Hodlnots a warm welcome tomorrow, Tuesday, when they will be joining everyone in the lodge. They'll be graduating and joining. So we'll let you know what time that'll be. But obviously you'll do that anyway. So warm welcome to them. And then of course the long-term trade call that Marius does. It's not Hodlnots, but it does have to do with us. So that is Thursday at 10 p.m. UTC. So lots and lots to do this week as always in the lodge. So we will see you there.
Absolutely. Large is our classroom indeed, Justin. Thank you for that. And then we started a new feature last week, and Vicky's going to be demonstrating shortly the next letter. Now, how it works is that over these couple of weeks, we don't know, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 10 weeks, there'll be a new letter dropped in a, that's not a letter. Okay, yeah, I was going to say. There'll be a new letter dropped every week, every Monday. Last week, I think we need to clarify what it was. Do we? Because somebody's guessed the wrong letter already. There we go. Okay, that was last week's letter. All right, so yeah, that was last week's letter. All right, it should be fairly simple to recognize. I mean, I think Vicky's doing a good job there. So yes, the word is not that. We already had one guess. If you'd like to win the Hodl 5 for 30 days based on last week's letter, pop a guess in now. We're also going to drop the next letter in as well. If you think you can guess the word, you can do that. We might open up. So the next letter in the random sequence, Vicky, is.
Do you see me doing it? I was doing it that way, but apparently that's backwards. So this way.
That's That's right. And then she disappears. All
Disappear.
right. She was walking like an Egyptian, but all right. There's a clue. Well, not really, but the letter. All right. Anybody want to guess? You get the Huddle Fire for 30 days if you do. We're going to be opening this up every week, obviously, around that opportunity to win the that Huddle Fire. So you've got two letters so far.
Or
Okay.
do you?
If you want to guess what the word might be, and then drop it in now. But for now, if you want to share us or share with us your weekly thought.
Yeah, this thought is actually very short, but it's thought-provoking. So, cooking is worth the mess.
There we go. Cooking is worth
Mhm.
the mess. It depends on who has to clean up, all right? Who's doing the dishes. All right. Well, thanks for joining the Hodlnots Weekly Warm-Up, jam-packed with all kinds of exciting news and announcements, crypto-related mostly. Check those letters, absolutely. And we will see you guys next week again. Until next time,